how to swing a club, and then spent another 30 years explaining those swings to millions of fans on national television. He won an Emmy. He trained legends. He survived cancer. By every measure, he was one of the most respected figures the sport had ever produced. And then, without a single word of goodbye, he was erased. No final broadcast, no farewell, just silence. So what really happened? Most people who reach the top of any sport can trace it back to childhood. A father who played, a coach who believed, a moment that sparked everything. Peter Kostis cannot. He was born and raised in Sanford, Maine, a small industrial town in New England, the son of Greek immigrants. Golf was never part of the picture. Instead, Kostis was a football player good enough to earn a scholarship to the University of New Hampshire, where he studied not sports science, not physical education, but chemical engineering. He graduated in 1970 with a degree that had absolutely nothing to do with fairways or swing planes. What it did give him, though, was something most golf instructors never have: a scientific mind. The ability to look at a moving body and see it not as an art form, but as a system, a set of forces, angles, and cause and effect relationships that could be analyzed, adjusted, and improved. He just did not know it yet. At the time, Kostis had no particular plan for his future. He was a young engineer from a small town with a degree he was not entirely sure how to use. Golf, of all things, was about to change that, not because he loved it, but because of something far more practical: money. In 1972, Peter Kostis took a job as an assistant professional at Cape Arundel Golf Club in Kennebunkport, Maine. The pay was $1.25 an hour. It was not glamorous. It was not a calling. It was simply a job. But Kostis noticed something almost immediately. As he recalled years later, back then we were charging $7.50 for a half-hour golf lesson. I quickly realized I could make a lot more money giving lessons. That was it. No dramatic revelation, no passion awakening. A chemical engineer looked at the numbers, did the math, and made a decision. And that decision quietly changed everything. By 1974, word of his teaching ability had reached the right people. Bob Toski, one of the most influential golf instructors in American history, handpicked Kostis to join the Golf Digest schools, a program that represented the highest level of golf instruction in the country. Kostis joined a staff that included Jim Flick and later Davis Love Jr., a group that would go on to shape how an entire generation of professionals understood the golf swing. What made Kostis stand out was exactly what made him an unlikely candidate in the first place. He did not teach by feel or tradition. He taught through logic, through cause and effect, through the same analytical framework he had built studying engineering. In a field full of artists, he thought like a scientist, and it worked. By the late 1980s, Peter Kostis was already one of the most respected golf instructors in the country. His client list included some of the biggest names on tour. He traveled the world teaching the game. But broadcasting? That was never part of the plan. In 1989, the PGA of America decided to charge a rights fee for the Ryder Cup for the first time. Every major network passed. USA Network agreed to pay $225,000 and needed a broadcast team on short notice. Kostis was already at the Belfry in England, not as a broadcaster, but as a coach for several players competing in the matches. When the production team realized they were short a person, they turned to him. As Kostis later described it, they asked me, "Would you like to be an on-course reporter?" I said, "What do I have to do?" They said, "Just walk and tell us what is going on." I jumped at it. He had never held a broadcast microphone in a professional setting. There was no audition, no training, no preparation. He simply walked the course and talked about what he saw, which, as it turned out, was exactly what made him so compelling. He was not performing. He was just a man who understood golf at a deeper level than almost anyone, speaking plainly about what was happening in front of him. CBS was watching. They liked what they heard. And in 1992, they brought him on board. As Kostis himself put it, it was pure, unadulterated luck. But luck in his case, had a habit of finding someone who was already prepared. When Peter Kostis joined CBS, golf broadcasting was largely the same as it had always been. Commentators describing shots, reacting to outcomes, filling silence with pleasantries. Kostis changed the model. Using the Konica Minolta BizHub Swing Vision camera, a system capable of capturing a golf swing at 1,000 frames per second, Kostis began breaking down player mechanics in real time, on live television, in a way that had never been done before at that scale. A second camera recorded club-to-ball contact at 12,500 frames per second, revealing the exact point of impact and the compression of the ball as it left the face. Kostis translated all of it into plain language that casual fans could follow and serious golfers could learn from. CBS won an Emmy Award for the innovation. But the technology was only part of the story. What made it work was the man explaining it, someone who had spent decades on driving ranges diagnosing exactly these kinds of movements, who could look at a freeze frame and immediately know what caused it and what it meant. Off camera, his teaching reputation continued to grow. His students included Jack Nicklaus, Tom Kite, Bernhard Langer, Davis Love III, and Paul Casey. He taught Kevin Costner how to swing a club convincingly enough to carry an entire film, Tin Cup, released in 1996 and appeared as himself in the movie. Golf Digest and Golf Magazine both placed him on their top teacher lists every single year from the moment those lists were created. He was, by any measure, at the peak of his profession. In the spring of 2013, Peter Kostis' wife Sandy had a routine colonoscopy scheduled. She suggested he get one at the same time. Kostis was not due for the procedure for several more months, and by his own account, he had no symptoms, no warning signs, and no family history that would have raised any concern. But he agreed to go. The results changed everything. The examination revealed malignant polyps. What followed was 6 hours of surgery to remove 18 inches of his colon and then a course of preventive chemotherapy. For a man who had spent years in the public eye, Kostis had always kept his private life carefully separate from his professional one. But when he heard former baseball player John Kruk speak openly about his own cancer diagnosis during a live television broadcast, something shifted. Kostis decided to go public not for sympathy, but to make a point. In a statement released through CBS, he said, "I had zero symptoms or family history. I urge everyone, if you are over 50, get a regular colonoscopy exam, whether you think you need one or not." He returned to CBS the following year, cancer-free. What struck those around him was how he processed the experience. He applied the same philosophy he had always given his students on the course. Trust the process, handle what is in front of you, and keep moving. As he reflected afterward, "I don't know that anybody ever knows how good they can be at something until they face adversity. How you handle it determines who you are." In February of 2019, the Genesis Open at Riviera Country Club produced one of the most talked about moments in recent golf broadcasting history. And it had nothing to do with the winning shot. J.B. Holmes was in contention on the final day, playing alongside Justin Thomas and Adam Scott in blustery, demanding conditions. On the par 3 fourth hole, Holmes took more than 80 seconds to attempt a birdie stroke, standing over the ball, stepping away, reading the green repeatedly, while his playing partners had long since finished their preparations and were simply waiting. Most broadcasters would have let it go. Kostis did not. With Jim Nantz setting the scene, here is J.B. Holmes going through all the maps and scales and typography data that he can find. Kostis followed with something far more direct. "The issue I have with that is not that he is doing that. It is that he had plenty of time to do that while Justin was getting ready for his shot or Adam was getting ready for his shot. And he waited until it was his turn to play, to go through his whole routine." The golf world responded immediately. Fans, journalists, and fellow players praised Kostis for saying what everyone was thinking. Adam Scott himself acknowledged after the round that Holmes was generally a slow player. The moment went viral. But inside the corridors of professional golf, the reaction was very different. Pace of play was and remains one of the tour's most sensitive subjects, one it preferred to manage quietly rather than have dissected on national television. Kostis had done what he always did. He told the truth. And for some powerful people, that was becoming a serious problem. In October of 2019, the news broke quietly. CBS had chosen not to renew the contracts of Peter Kostis and Gary McCord. Between the two of them, they represented 60 years of combined experience on CBS golf broadcasts. There was no announcement during a telecast, no tribute segment, no final sign-off from either man. They were simply informed, and then they were gone. CBS released a brief statement. Gary and Peter have been an important part of our golf coverage for 3 decades. They were both outstanding teammates, and we thank them for their significant contributions throughout the years. That was all. When CBS offered Kostis a farewell appearance at an upcoming tournament, a final broadcast as a send-off, he turned it down without hesitation. His response was direct. I am not retiring. I am not going to have a retirement party. The decision clearly stung. Kostis had spent nearly 3 decades giving CBS some of the most technically insightful golf commentary American television had ever produced. He had won an Emmy under their banner. He had come back from cancer for them. And now, with no warning and no explanation that felt honest, it was over. He did not hide his disappointment. In the days that followed, he told reporters, I am surprised Gary and I did not get the same loyalty other announcers have received who have worked for CBS for a long time. That is my biggest surprise in this whole thing. The real explanation, as Kostis saw it, had not yet been fully spoken, but it was coming. Peter Kostis had never been the type to stay quiet when he believed something needed to be said. And when it came to explaining why the end of his CBS career had arrived without ceremony, he was not about to start. In an interview on the No Laying Up podcast, he laid out what he believed had actually happened. When he asked CBS Sports Chairman Sean McManus directly why the decision had been made, the answer he received was vague. We just feel like things have gotten a bit stale, and we want to go in a different direction. Kostis remembered those words precisely, and he did not accept them as the full story. His own conclusion pointed elsewhere. The tour wants more control over what is being said, he told the podcast. I think they want more cheerleaders on the telecast. The timing, he argued, was not coincidental. CBS held broadcast rights to PGA Tour events through 2021, and negotiations for the next deal were already quietly underway. The tour was in a position of enormous leverage. Billions of dollars in future rights fees were on the table. In that environment, a broadcaster known for publicly criticizing slow play, questioning tour decisions, and refusing to soften his analysis was not an asset, he was a liability. This is the part of the story that rarely gets discussed openly in professional sports media. When the entity paying the rights fee and the entity doing the broadcasting become financially inseparable, editorial independence becomes uncomfortable. Kostis represented something the modern broadcast landscape increasingly has no room for, a voice that answered to the viewer first and to no one else. He was not fired because he was stale. He was moved aside because he was honest. Peter Kostis did not disappear. He had made that much clear from the moment CBS let him go. He returned to his roots teaching. His Peter Kostis Golf Academy at Greyhawk Golf Club in Scottsdale, Arizona, continued to operate, and in a development that said something quietly profound about the life he had built, his son John joined him there as a fellow instructor. The man who had stumbled into golf because of a pay difference in 1972 had built something that outlasted any network contract. Together with Gary McCord, he launched a podcast called Kostis and McCord Off Their Rockers, unfiltered, unsponsored by tour politics, and free to say exactly what the two of them had apparently not always been free to say on CBS. As for the 30 years